Merry sundawn, piecers, and what a glorious sundawn it is indeed. I had a bit of a religious experience this past weekend because I went to my very first regional event in Niagara, Canada. In that convention center was a man who brought a Nami deck. He had previously just been smelling my farts in a 7-hour car ride. And dare I say, I call him my friend. Took 8th place and won a cereal Shanks. A glorious sundawn. So let's meet this man who calls himself Giuliano Espino.
In 6th place with 24 points, Brian Adamo. In 7th place with 24 points, Jeffrey Leon. In 8th place with 24 points, Giuliano Espino.
It is October 14th, 2023. Giuliano, what did you do today?
I took the queen herself, Nami, to the Niagara Falls Treasure Cup, and I went 8-1, finished top 8. Incredible feat with Nami. So that is what I did today. As you can see right here on the mat, we got all sorts of goodies.
This is the bling.
This is the bling. This is like, I didn't realize this. You get a finalist mat. This is like a $400 to $600 mat. We got the 3 exclusive stamped championship winner Whitebeard Pirates cards, Newgate. This is literally a playset now since Newgate's at 1. So that's incredible. Yeah. The 5-drop Marco, I hate this card. I think that artwork is beautiful, though. And then I don't really care about the Jozu because it's just a random 2K you're never going to use. But I don't play Whitebeard anymore, so it doesn't even matter. We also got a stamped winner pack of all of the tournament participation packs. You get a complete set, but it's stamped with winner. Should we open this up right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Should we open this up right now? This is like a couple $100 worth of cards right now. I'm struggling for it. I'm struggling. All right, so this is the big one. Oh my god, I am struggling. So, I actually don't even know everything that's in here. We got Otama, Kurobi. I do like to mess around with Kuro recreationally. Crocodile. I'm actually really happy I got this one because I'm thinking about picking up Ivankov after, because I'm never playing Nami again in my life now. Mino Rhinoceros for all the weird people that play Magellan out there.
Who would that be?
Who would that be? Maybe Sundawn, but now he's the Iceberg. Spondum. And then Charlotte. Honestly, I'm looking at this card right now. I've never even seen this card before. Charlotte Chiffon. I have no clue what it does, but
I actually played against that today.
Really?
Yeah.
With the Iceberg?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Even though we're doing a Nami profile right now, I do want to give a shout out to Sundawn. He was the only Iceberg there, and he managed to go 4-5 with Iceberg. So he's probably the only Iceberg player now, but he is also the best Iceberg player now.
I think people want to see the winning packs. That's what they want to see.
Do they want to see the winning packs? Okay, they don't want to see.
These are so good too.
Yeah, these are really cool. And then you got sleeves, but the major glory is this.
Oh my goodness.
A serialized Shanks card.
And you're going to keep it closed, right?
No, we're going to open this right now.
Oh my god.
This is a couple grand right here. I already have a serial Luffy, so I cannot wait to put this right next to that Luffy in the binder. And honestly, I'll probably play with this card because I love to flex and play with the serial Luffy. So, are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready? This is actually nerve-wracking.
Don't shake too much.
Oh my god, this is actually terrifying. Hold on. Dude, I think I have to use my teeth.
You gotta be quick.
Oh
boy.
boy.
Be a little quick.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Alright, so this is the cereal Shanks. Cereal
Damn. Oh,
955 out of 1,000. We take what we get. This is a beauty. I shouldn't be holding this right now, but damn, this is gorgeous. Second cereal card of the set. This is awesome. So I'm going to now...
Yeah, what was the deck list? That's the main question.
Yeah,
after
the
this.
main question. I posted in a lot of the Facebook groups and everything. My strategy going into this tournament, I started 2 months ago, where I wanted to get everybody at our store. By the way, shout out to Endangered Hobbies in the Natick Mall. Richie, incredible store. It's the best community. They took me in as a card game noob. I played Yu-Gi-Oh until I was bullied for it in middle school, so I stopped doing it. And then they also stole my Crocs, and I went through like a 15-year period
Not
where
the Crocs.
Yeah, now I wear Crocs every day. I am a complete and total fraud. I just copied the top place in Japan deck list, and it was apparently incredible. I had played Nami for a little bit, and I was doing all right for it, but then I copied the deck list that topped in Japan. I took it to a case tournament. I won the case tournament, and I figured if it's good enough to win the case tournament, it's probably good enough to take to regionals.
I would say so as well. Yeah.
So should we get into the actual?
Let's get into the actual deck
also,
list.
damn, this is a nice mat. So we are going to start off with characters, and honestly, like I should say this in case you don't know, Nami alternate win condition. If you run out of cards in your deck, you win.
Instead of losing, you win.
Instead of losing, you win.
It's that simple.
It's that simple, but it's actually very complex. I did not win by killing my opponents at all today. There were only 3 games. Actually, there were only 2 games where I took life. Yeah, so, Nami. Apis. So, for those of you that do not know, Apis is from the Warship Island arc. If you did not know that and you're playing Nami, stop. You're a fraud.
Dragons are real.
Yeah, dragons are real. Apis, Warship Island. Who would have thunk that? So, Apis is interesting because it's an East Blue Searcher, which on paper it sounds good because a lot of the good cards that give you card draw are East Blue type characters. However, Apis has a little bit of a condition associated with her where you have to trash 2 cards from your hand to be able to do the search. And on paper, that sounds like it may actually suck, but I love Apis because with Nami, you actually want to be playing with a very low hand size because there are a lot of cards in the deck that have effects that only go off to draw cards if you have a certain amount of cards in hand. So Apis helps you get to that threshold a lot quicker and a lot sooner and lets you get a lot of extra draw power. And then with Apis, you can search some of your best cards in the deck. And Apis also, too, it's one of the few searchers that can search for itself, so you don't have to worry about whiffing too much. And then if worse comes to worse, Apis is a 2K counter. And 2K counters in one piece are always very good.
I will take one, yeah.
Yeah. And aside from, well, we're talking about 2K counters, there are only 6 cards in this deck that are 2K counters.
The Kaya.
Kaya. One of the, not the MVP, but always one of the most reliable ladies in the entire Nami deck. Kaya, draw 2, trash 2. So it's great to do with card draw, and we'll talk about this later on. There's a lot of cards you can use with Nami to return Kaya back to your hand, so you can keep cycling these Kaya effects. You know, there are some games where you may play Kaya 7, 8, 9 times, and that helps you get through like half your deck. Also, if need be, this did not happen today, but sometimes you do have to make the judgment call and use Kaya as a 2K counter. But like, if you are using Kaya as a 2K counter, you're probably in a bad spot. But that situation never came up today. When I played in a case tournament 2 weeks ago, there were some instances where I had to use Kaya as a 2K counter and she saved the day, but not always. So then we have 4 of Mr. 1 Das Bones. Mr. 1 Das Bones lets you add a 1-cost event from your trash to your hand. We will get to this momentarily, but one of the best cards in the game is a 1-cost counter that lets you trash 2 cards from your deck, so Mr. 1 is really good to help recycling it. And also, if you notice, Mr. 1 has the Impel Down archetype, and that will be incredibly helpful when we talk about this next card. And Buggy. 4 Buggy.
Ooh.
4 Buggy.
All alt art cards.
Yes. Last time I did an interview when I won a case tournament, I had 2 alt arts, but I found the last 2 because this beautiful man named Sundawn. And Buggy's incredible. Basically, there's Nami builds that are Buggy builds, and there's Nami builds that are non-Buggy builds. And I think Buggy is such a good type. Buggy lets you search the top 5 cards of your deck for 1 Impel Down type card. Aside from Buggy, there are 16 Impel Down type cards in this deck, which means you're going to whiff occasionally with Buggy. However, even if you do whiff with Buggy, the best part is that you get to organize the bottom 5 cards of your deck, because Buggy, after you search for the top 5 cards, you get to return them to the bottom of your deck in any order. And with Nami, if you are going to win, which I did 8 times, you are going to, subtle flex, you are going to get to the bottom of that deck.
Yeah,
And
not
so
subtle flex.
stacking things with Buggy is really important. So Buggy is incredible. If you do happen to take out an Impel Down type card from your deck, that's great because it's one less card in deck. But Buggy, it's more of being able to reorganize the bottom of your deck than it is being able to take a card. But being able to take a card is always great. And then I think this is the
4 Zephs.
I think this is the last
character card
in the entire deck. Zeph. So Zeph is very situational. Zeph lets you Zeph at 5 cost, 6k, and when you play Zeph, you get to return a character with 3 costs or less to the owner's hand. So that could be your opponent's card, but it could also be used to bounce one of your Kayas back to hand to keep cycling, or to get a Mr. 1 back so you can get another really good 1-cost event. And then Zeph, you trash the top 2 cards of your deck. However, with Zeph, if you get a hit on life with Zeph, you get to trash the top 7 cards of your deck. And in Nami being a mill deck, that's incredibly important. However, people will put all of their resources into guarding against the Zeph. So I have found that the only matchup Zeph is mandatory in is Katakuri. Because of that 10-drop Big Mom, you are on a timer, and they typically have bad blockage. I don't know if that's the right term. Low blockers. The Sanji makes it a little better now, but you typically have to get a Zeph swing in against Katakuri. The only times I landed Zeph hit swings in this entire tournament was against Katakuri. I did go against 3 Katakuri. I won all 3, and 2 out of 3 of those I got a Zeph hit in. One, she was such a lovely lady, and I felt bad, but I got 3 Zeph hit swings in.
Yikes.
Yeah, and I milled my deck before I got to 10 Dawn. I was at 9 and they were at 10, and it was that was
one successful swing with Zeph already gets you such an advantage.
Yeah, if you get a hit in with Zeph, you're pretty good. But again, out of the 8 matches I won, I only got a Zeph hit in with 2 of those games. There's a lot of matchups where I don't even bother playing Zeph. He's just a 1k counter. He's a discard target with Kaya or Gavel, which we'll talk about later on. It's only in yellow where I really feel like I need to put pressure with Zeph. I against that Katakuri deck, I had 3 Zephs on board, and it was that was probably the most one-sided Nami matchup I've played in my entire Nami career. So that is it for characters. And then now,
going to the events?
Nami, you probably know. This is going to be a very event-heavy deck. And I want to start off with the elephant in the room, because I posted something about this in Facebook, and people were like, what the hell do you mean by that? You don't know what you're doing. And to the people that say you don't know what you're doing, I say, when you get 8-1 and you get a serial Shanks with Nami, we can talk about this. So, yeah. Sanji's Pilaf, I think this card sucks. I think this card is the biggest trap in the entire deck. This card is 3 Dawn, draw 2. That sounds good with Nami, but especially early on, if you use Sanji's Pilaf, you are put in a very vulnerable position because you need Dawn from your events to counter out. So a lot of times... Oh, but actually, I do want to take a step back. Sanji's Pilaf on trigger is fantastic. Just activate this card's effect, draw 2 cards. That's great. But especially if you are going up against an aggro deck, this card is a trap. If you go up against Law or you go up against Zoro, you need to keep as much Dawn open as possible. So if you see a Sanji's Pilaf early on, you want to try and get this card out of your hand and not by using it. So when I played against Zoro, I did 2 Kayas early on, and I trashed 2 Sanji's Pilaf right away. And the guy was like, dude, that's crazy. Why would you do that? You don't know what you're doing. This card is a trap. You need to keep your Dawn up. And Sanji's Pilaf, if you have 10 Dawn and you have a Sanji's Pilaf in hand, great. But if this card bricks in your hand, it is setting you up for failure. So you have to be super careful with this card. It's really tempting to, I get to draw 2 cards. That puts me closer to my limit. But you just have to be very careful with this card. I think this card is the most overrated card in the Nami deck. In my Law game, I drew 4 Sanji's Pilaf. That was my last round against Law, which I don't normally do well in, but I did manage to eke out the win on that one. I drew all my 4 Sanji's Pilafs, and I trashed 3 of them because Law will do restands and keep swinging at you for big numbers, and if you don't have the Dawn up, they're going to slaughter you. So please be careful with this card. On trigger, it is God tier. It's very difficult to figure out when you need to keep your Sanji's Pilaf and use it, or when you need to trash it. And it's such a delicate balancing act. I think this card is like the most difficult card in the Nami deck. All right, so I'll probably get some heat for that, but
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Is purple, when do I Dawn minus? It's kind of important to know how to
Yeah, Dawn
keep your
Man.
Dawn for when you need it.
So honestly, people probably know this by now if they're watching a Nami video, but most of the Nami deck, aside from the Zephs, and I think the Zephs are very situational for certain matchups. There's some matchups where you never play Zeph. Zoro, I typically don't play Zeph because they usually have some sort of removal for it. I went up against one Zoro today, and he said, I kept events in my hand the entire game waiting for you to play Zeph. And I just never played Zeph because I played enough Nami matchups to know that when that Zeph comes out on the board, it is the number one target. Okay, so most of the Nami deck is based around chaining events and being able to do very specific combos to the point where you can mill out your deck. And one of the MVPs, if not the MVP, is Gum Gum Giant Gavel. Gavel is incredible. It is one cost event plus 4,000, which is great for one Dawn. This is the best one Dawn event. You do have to trash a card from your hand, which is actually good in my opinion, because with Nami you want to get down to a lower hand size. But the Gavel is also incredible because you get to trash the top 2 cards from your deck. And then I previously talked about this. Mr. One Das Bones lets you add the Gavel back to your hand. So potentially in like some God tier scenario, you could get through like 16 cards in your deck just with Gavel. And that would give you 32,000 worth of counter power, which is very good. Gavel is one of the MVPs.
I would say so.
Gavel is one of the MVPs. And also, too, a lot of these cards, you can look more into them if you're interested, but it does have the East Blue, so you can search it off of Apis, which is always good. And then the next card in here, another event. I should probably be talking about the triggers, actually, but Gavel has a pretty good trigger. It's return a 4-cost Celeste to hand. This did come in handy against a Whitebeard today because they had the 4-cost Vanilla Luffy on board. But a lot of the times when you get the Gavel on trigger, you have to decide, do I want the defense to mill my deck, or do I want to add a Kaya back to my hand to get some cycle? Usopp's Rubber Band of Doom, plus 2,000 power, and then you get to trash the top card of your deck, which is always good. And then trigger, great as well. Draw 1, trash 1. That puts you 2 cards closer to the bottom of your life. And then this is a card I absolutely adore. Aside from the fact that it has a great trigger, Desert Spada, the trigger is draw 2 cards, trash 1. I will say I did not have the best RNG this game. But when I went against my second Zoro, I think this would have been around 6 or 7. I had 3 Desert Spadas in my life to draw 6 cards, which was incredible. The guy cut, I don't know how that happened. The guy cut my deck. That's on him. I never cut my opponent's decks because I just trust they're going to do a worse job shuffling their deck than I will. But then Desert Spada also lets you look at the top 3 cards of your deck and organize them in any order. And because of these 2 cards we talked about previously, Gavel and Rubber Band, you are trashing the top cards of your deck with these effects. You're not drawing them. So sometimes if you blindly use these cards, you will accidentally toss a Kaya, for instance, or maybe you're playing against Katakuri and you really needed a Zeph, or maybe you were in a situation where a Pilaf would have been really good to play. I think those situations are limited, but those situations happen. Desert Spada will let you look at the top 3 so you can figure out which cards to trash from the top of your deck and which ones to save, so you're not just blindly trashing cards. A lot of people just use Desert Spada for the trigger, but Desert Spada is a combo with Gavel or Rubber Band. I actually had one game where they swung at me for 7, and I had a Spada and a Rubber Band in my hand, and I countered to 7 exactly, and the only other counter I had in my hand was a Rubber Band, and then I looked at the top 3 cards of my deck, and it was Kaya, Pilaf. And so I ended up saying, and this was a situation where Pilaf was very advantageous for me to use. I ended up saying I countered to 7,000 and I could have trashed one of those cards, but those top 3 cards in my deck were so important where I said, actually, man, I'm just going to take that life hit. Yeah, like sometimes you have to do it, and it paid off. All right, so Spada, incredible. Trigger's great, but also just being able so you can't blindly swing. And then another card, Impel Down All-Stars. These are all kind of bread and butter Nami things. With Impel Down All-Stars, you can't play the card. You can only use it if your leader is Impel Down type. And with blue Impel Down types, as of right now, we only have Ivankov, who I do want to try and pick up after regionals because I'm done playing Nami for a hot minute. However, the trigger is incredible. because you get to draw 2 cards, and that is great. The only triggers in this deck that are just draw 2 cards are Peel Off and Impel Down All-Stars. I only saw this card on trigger once the entire day, but it was against the Law and in the last round, and Law's my worst matchup, so I was so happy to see it. I had one game where like the RNG is what saved me, and I do hate when I win because of RNG because it's just not satisfying. But aside from that, I had terrible RNG. But I did see Impel Down All-Stars as the one draw trigger against my worst matchup when I really needed it. Something else too that I like about the fact that Impel Down All-Stars is a brick in your hand. When you play cards like Kaya, which you're cycling, or you're playing a card like Gavel where you have to trash a card from your hand, Impel Down All-Stars is the most obvious target. Same thing for Apis. There was one game where I drew 2 Impel Down All-Stars and an Apis in my opening hand, so instantly play the Apis, trash the cards. So
I like easy decisions.
Yeah, and like with Nami, you're doing a lot of decisions throughout the entire game, and if you can save a little bit of mental focusing power, that's fine. Another thing too is this is pretty obvious. Can you guess what type of card Impel Down All-Stars is? It's an Impel Down type. It's another.
I thought it was an All-Star type.
Yeah, I know, right? Nothing works anymore in this world. So it's another buggy target. Another great card is Aberrus Brickfist. Also, an Impel Down type card. This lets you return a character with a cost of 4 or less to the owner's hand. I used to play Nojiko in Nami, and Nojiko lets you return a 5 cost or less from your opponent's side of the field, which is great because there are, especially yellow has that, what's the yellow vanilla? Is it Randolph, the 5 cost 7k? There's a couple beefy 5 cost vanillas in this deck, so it's really good being able to return them with Nojiko. However, I had one game when I was practicing with the Nojiko build, and I had 3 Nojikos in life, and those are useless. If they were Aberrus Brickfist and they had a trigger, that would have won me the game. Brickfist lets you bounce any card on the field with 4 or less. So typically speaking, you are trying to bounce your Kayas back to keep recycling that draw. In my last match against Law, it was actually pretty rough. I think Law is the worst matchup for Nami, but I didn't see my Kayas until the very end of the game, and then I had some Brickfist, so I did Kaya, Brickfist, Kaya, and I went from like 12 cards down to 0, lightning fast. So Brickfist is great being able to bounce the Kayas. Also, when you go against Whitebeard, a lot of times, I actually like to go first against Whitebeard because Whitebeard is fairly predictable. They always, not always, but if they have it, they typically, when they have 4 Dawn, they play the 4 cost vanilla on curve, and then you just bounce this back and you really with their tempo, and then you're good to go. Whitebeard is very predictable in that manner. So I played 2 Whitebeards today. I won 1, lost 1. Aberrus Brickfist, you can also search it with Buggy. And then we will get into my 2 favorite cards of the deck. Love Mellow. So this is plus 4,000 counter, and then also if you have 3 or less cards in hand, you get to draw 1 card. But that 3 or less card effect hits after you play the Love Mellow. So if Love Mellow is your 4th card, you get to draw a card. So Love Mellow, incredible. This is why I like cards like Apis or Gavel that help you lower your hand size to put yourself into draw range from Love Mellow. I love going first, playing Apis, trashing 2 cards from hand, and like if I have a Love Mellow in hand, and then that makes it so on the next turn when I have 3 Dawn, I'm already in territory to use Love Mellow. The lower hand size you can get in Nami, the better. Some people play with like 20 cards in hand and they keep trying to draw a bunch of cards, but it's I don't want to say what's the language I can use in this video?
Oh, you can say whatever you want.
Okay,
I've got,
so
editing powers.
Oh, okay. So playing with a low hand size with Nami is very risky, but it's very rewarding. It's like the pull-out method. Yeah. Deathwing, in my opinion, is the MVP of the deck.
I would say 6k power is pretty strong.
6k power is really good. But then 3 cost event, 6k power, it's great. That'll get you out of a lot of things. People are conditioned also to swing at Nami for 9, because that's typically a good number to swing at Nami. We should probably talk about that after this.
I'll ask that question.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's usually a good number to swing against Nami. And then if somebody knows how to play against Nami, they typically swing for 9. So Deathwing is great to get out of this. My favorite thing in the world to do is have like 3 cards left in hand, trash, do a gavel, trash that second card, mill 2, and then get it so Deathwing is the last card in my hand. And then you can draw 2 cards. So I actually think, hot take, Deathwink is the real Sanji's Pilaf. Because if you do it properly, you get 3 Dawn, but you do get to draw 2, and you actually get a 6K. Deathwink is incredible. Also, this trigger is great too. Bounces 7 or less to the owner's hand, which comes in handy. Especially if I didn't go against any Rebeccas today, unfortunately, because that's probably the most one-sided matchup in the entire game. Nami versus Rebecca. The topping Rebecca player agreed with me as well, so that is always nice.
I heard they were dodging you.
Yeah, oh yeah. We were like sitting next to each other the whole day, and like the whole time he was like, "Dude, I hope I don't face you." I'm like, "Dude, I would love nothing more than to face you." That's the most one-sided matchup in the entire card game. But Deathwing also, the trigger bounced 7 or less to the owner's hand. I had one matchup against Whitebeard, and this was a straight up Yu-Gi-Oh! Heart of the Cards, or if you're cynical, it's a Bandit Keith moment. Right. I was playing against a Whitebeard, and he had a Thatch on board, and I don't know why. I had a life that I could have defended, but I just felt like there was a Deathwink on the top of my life. I just had that feeling, because it's like, I haven't seen a Deathwink yet. I'm through about half my deck. There's got to be one in life. I would love to bounce this Thatch. So even though I could have blocked out of it, and he only had 5 Dawn left, so even though he could have blocked out of it, I was like, I'm gonna take this hit. I could block out, and it was Deathwink. So that was just beautiful. That was the real RNG. That was great. So you can search Deathwink off of Buggy. So if I have a very low hand size, I love searching for Deathwink with Buggy. I had one game against the Law. So if you have 2 cards in hand, you use Deathwink, you get to draw a card. I had 6 Dawn left. The Law swung at me for 9 twice in my last round, and I did Deathwink, draw a card, Deathwink, draw a card. And I countered out of all the 9K swings. So this is the Nami deck. It's standard. If you look at a top Nami deck, Eggman says this, like, if you look at a top Nami deck, this is the deck people run. But there are so many decision trees, and every matchup is hyper-individualized, where you have to put a lot of work in. My strategy going into this regional was I want to get everybody at Endangered Hobbies. Again, incredible store, my favorite store ever. I owe those people a lot. They are dear mentors to me. I wanted to get everybody really good at playing against Nami, so I would go to nationals where nobody knew how to play against Nami, and it would be so easy compared to locals.
Do you think people in the sim regret auto conceding now?
By the way, if I have to give one shout out to people, it's to the people that auto quit on sim against Nami. Because I bet I played against a couple people that auto-quit against Nami and didn't learn the matchup. If you know the matchup, it's actually pretty easy. Like
What's the standard rule?
Yeah, from having played Nami, actually too, this may sound weird, worst matchup for Nami, Iceberg. That is a brutal matchup, and I'm talking to an Iceberg player right now.
I think it's the pilot, though.
Yeah, no, it's just, yeah, sure. Nami versus Iceberg is like the most brutal matchup ever. I have a couple Iceberg friends, and they're giving me shit right now. But, yeah, so my first round, I played against Zoro. And I think that strategy of getting everybody really good playing against Nami was very successful, because today was a breeze compared to locals. Like, it was so easy compared to locals.
So the quick rundown is you played Zoro, then...
Yeah, so I played Zoro, and we can get into the matchups a little more. I played Zoro, I won, and then I played against Blue Dofi. I want to give a shout out to my friend Kev. On Wednesday, we meet 2 hours before locals, and we just grind out Blue Dofi versus Nami. He has that matchup down to a T. Like, he knows, like, I win, I beat him like 1 every 10 times, and so going against the Blue Dofi today was a breeze. I think I had 4 life left. It was so easy. So I won that. I won against the Katakuri. I won that. I went up against a Whitebeard. I won that. And then I went up against another Whitebeard. I lost that one. That was my loss for the day. And then next game, Katakuri player. So I won that one. I went against another Zoro. I won that one. I went against my third Katakuri. I won that one. And then last, worst matchup is Law. But I could tell the Law player didn't have a lot of Nami experience, so I fairly easily won that one.
Giuliano, you just topped 8 with Nami. How does it feel?